and taking my shirt off over my head. So that'd be interesting.
Hey, and welcome to the Welsh Text Podcast presents Lattes Before Loading. We hope you enjoyed the introduction episode last week and that it gave you an idea of what this series is all about. Today, we're going to kick off with the first official episode talking about the first show of our January tour, which was in Paris. We chat about making coffee on a moving tour bus, first day problems, and trying to order food on French deliveroo, which is an absolute nightmare. We hope this gives you a taste of what's to come in the series, where we're going to talk about everything from faders, strings, tape, and tears. But before we get started, I want to answer a few of your questions that you've sent into the Instagram page. Maybe we'll make it a weekly section of the podcast, so if you do have any questions about the shows from that January tour, or just about touring in general, then head over to our Instagram and look out for me posting a little questions box in the stories. So we've had a few questions this week, but I'll pick out 2 or 3 now, and I'll try and keep my answers pretty short. So let's do it.
Question 1. Is there really a need to take a printer with you on tour?
So it's not really necessary, but it is very helpful to have my own. So I'm not chasing the promoter or someone at the venue to print anything off for me. I just have my own set up in the production office, and I can just go print stuff when I need it, basically. And I do print quite a lot off during the day, stuff like set list, channel list, boarding passes if we're doing a fly show, dressing room signs, and sometimes if the backstage is quite complicated, I'll do direction signs to get to the dressing room, because sometimes the band members do get a little bit lost.
Question 2. Why was the No Tour shirts available in Cologne? Or was I just too late?
I guess the simple answer is that you were just too late, I'm afraid. We definitely had them there. We just sold more than expected at the first couple of shows. So by this point, we divided what we had left until we knew we were getting another restock, and made sure that we had at least a selection of them at every show. So I'm sorry you missed out on the ones that we had at Cologne.
Question 3. I'd like to hear about your careers leading up to working with While She Sleeps and how you got there.
So this is a question that was asked quite a lot this week, and the answer is to just keep listening to this podcast channel. So this series is called Lattes Before Loading, and each of these episodes will keep this format of talking about a specific show. But in the next few weeks, we're going to be introducing different sub-podcasts within this channel. One of those is going to be called Origins, which is interviewing each crew member about what they were up to just before they started working for the band and how they got their first job working for While She Sleeps. So make sure you keep an eye on this podcast channel, and make sure you like, follow, subscribe, or whatever it's called on the device that you're listening to this on. Just make sure you do all that, and it'll keep you in the loop. Okay, so that's it for questions this week. If there's anything you want to ask about the January tour or just about touring in general, go to our Instagram page, which is @WhileSheTexts, and keep an eye out for me posting that little questions box in the stories at some point this week. But for now, let's get started with episode 1, all about the first show in Paris. Hey, and welcome to the Welsh Text Podcast. This is episode number 1, where we're going to talk about show number 1 of the tour. My name is James, and today we're joined by our merch guy, Lacey.
Hello.
There he is. And today we've got a special guest. He's special to me. He's special to Lacey. He's a special kind of guy. Guitar tech wizard, Liam Rothery. So, hey, Liam. How are you?
What an intro. Oh, yeah. I'm all right, thanks. I'm all right. How are you two gentlemen? Thanks for having me on, James and Lacey. Yeah. It's an absolute pleasure.
I'm so glad that you're here.
Oh, thanks.
I've missed your face, yeah.
Yeah, I bet.
We're good. How was lockdown for you?
Well, it was all right. I did about a month, sort of 5 weeks at home with nothing to do, so just tearing my hair out. The hair that I've got left, I was tearing out, and then I was playing a lot of computer games and stuff, and then doing stuff around the house and whatnot. And then I ended up getting a job, funnily enough. So I've been doing that. It's in York, so I've had to be driving over to York every day. But yeah, it's good because I've got something to do.
Nice.
Rather than sat around doing nothing.
Actually doing something for once. It's good.
Ow!
Yeah, so we're here to talk about show number 1, which was, of course, Paris. Let's start with Lacey. You want to tell us about what we did for coffee this day?
Yeah, we didn't do a lot. Unfortunately, the venue was miles outside the centre of Paris in classic touring fashion. You get told that you're playing the city and you turn up and it's not actually anywhere near the city. So on this day, I travel a AeroPress coffee grinder and a bag of beans simply for this eventuality. So yeah, I just used that, grinded up some beans. I think I may have had some left over from a Scandinavian coffee shop that I went to that was amazing. Yeah, so yeah, it was just a very good, very fancy black coffee from a Scandi coffee shop. So yeah, that was pretty much my morning of doing that and complaining that we're not in the city.
Yeah, it's always fun when there's not a Starbucks nearby, because then I just freak out.
God's sake. I can't believe we're doing a podcast that even has coffee in the name and you're bringing up Starbucks.
Yeah, so show 1, Paris. When I advanced the show, we were told that we couldn't arrive and get access to the parking lot until 10 a.m. because it was through a gated area and the security guard didn't start until 10 a.m. Classic. So yeah, we pulled down to the gate at 10 a.m. and the security guard opens it up, and it would have been a nice, easy pull into the parking lot and turn the engine off if it wasn't for the support band's tour bus parked in the way.
Classic!
Overnight. In the closest
support
spot.
band got in without the security guard being there.
Yeah, so they're in the way. That was fun.
Get out the way!
So yeah, we arrived at the first show and we turned up doing a 200-point turn in this 16-metre long tour bus.
Yeah, that were a nightmare. Lates is trying to make coffee as well, and it's just everywhere. Stolen himself.
Trying to press the coffee and just bouncing around.
Yeah.
I think we hit every pothole as well. Just to add to it, there was about 20 potholes in this car park scattered around. I think we managed to hit every single one of them in doing this 3 million pointer.
But the driver got there. It was good. Parked up, ready for the first show. And then I think, Liam, was it me and you that went in first?
Probably.
Yeah, and what were we greeted with when we walked into this lovely venue, which was like a mini circus tent. It's like a round room. It's a great looking room. But yeah, what was the first thing that we saw?
Well, we were greeted with, we got there early, so we could get in early to set up early. And when we got in, the guys were still building the front of the stage. Again, classic. I'm ready to go, raving to go. Come on, guys, let's get our gear in and get set up as soon as possible. This will be great. Yeah, no, they were just like, you walked in, there was this drilling stage together. Like, what is going on? Knockabout, chop. But no, so we had to wait around for quite a while, I remember, to get loaded in. I think we loaded in quite early onto the floor, didn't we? I think
yeah, we brought the gear into the venue, got it all out, and just slowly brought it to stage when the nice man had finished making sure it was secure.
and then we sort of got loaded. But the reason because for any listener that doesn't know or whatever, just to explain, we get into a venue early on the first day because your first day, really, there's a lot of pressure, there's a lot of stuff to set up, there's a lot of things that can potentially go wrong, and you just want to iron out the creases, really, and get everything nailed for the show. So to get in that extra hour and a half early is, it's fundamental, really. We need to get in there to get set up ready, like I say, and iron out any creases. But yeah, when you've got some guy wandering around sort of drilling bits of panels onto a stage and you're sort of stood there, you're thinking, time's marching on, what we doing? So yeah, we got stuff into the venue and could set up on the floor, like where the crowd stands off the stage, so we could get things built there, but we couldn't get things onto the stage for a good couple of hours afterwards, which is annoying.
But it all worked out in the end.
Yeah, always does.
Liam, how many times do you reckon you said a swear word in that space of time between getting in and realizing that he was drilling the stage still and finally getting on stage? How many times do you reckon you said a swear word?
I think I just exclusively use swear words for about 3 hours. Just under my breath, like, yeah. It's just, but everybody's like, it's fine. Like, the guys in the venue were like, oh, it is fine. And I'm like, it's not fine. Yeah, it's not fine. Anyway, but yeah, it worked out in the end, and it was a good show, I think. No, not I think, it was a very good show. Yeah. Did you have any issues, Liam, like before the show? Did everything from your pre-production day, did everything work okay, or was there any major issues when you were setting up, or just before the show when you was getting ready? Was there any issues that you like encountered that you weren't expecting, or did everything go smooth? Not really. No, I'm trying to think really. I think the show went pretty good. Obviously, I'd done a lot of pre-pro a couple of days before, so all the guitars were restrung and stretched in and everything like that. I think really the only thing that I needed to do was rescan the guitar packs. So I was scanning the guitar packs, so they were on better RF frequencies. And then, but the only other thing really is like with anything like with these sort of gigs is you set up Guitar World and you try and get Guitar World into a more convenient or the most convenient place around the stage, or maybe on the stage, if wherever you can get it, the most convenient place. And so I set up Guitar World, and I should have really known because there was this sort of like exit way out the back. And I thought, no, this should be all right here. And then about 10 minutes before doors, I think we had the promoter coming in with all like the venue stuff saying, this Guitar World can't be here.
In a fire exit.
Because it weren't really in a fire exit. It was, I understand, yeah, if there's a couple of thousand people trying to get out, yeah, I understand, and I should have really bothered. Keep rushing around on that first day and nobody's, is the Guitar all right to be here? Yeah, that should be fine. You go with it. And then, 10 minutes before doors, somebody runs over and says, what's this doing here? So I think we had to move everything onto sort of the side of the stage. I was all right in that fire exit, but the guitars weren't, so they had to be just on the side of the stage, so we had to move everything on there. But it wasn't a major problem, really. That sort of thing happens quite often. You get told by one person that it can be there, and then 10 minutes later, somebody else comes in, and it's a problem, you know what I mean? So you get used to that. Knocked around like a tennis ball.
In them 10 minutes between being told that you've got to move and the doors opening, how many times do you think that you swore?
In 10 minutes? 1,000 in that 10 minutes, I reckon.
I just got such a vivid image of you getting so angry about it.
I don't do that.
It's not funny because it's stressful at the time for you, but it was so funny.
Yeah. It's just why 10 minutes ago, 2 hours ago, Jesus. And nobody wants that guy on top of there, so yeah. It's a good job I'd say it under my breath to myself.
I love it.
So Lacey, what about you? What did you do in show number 1? Talk us through your day of merch.
Show number 1 this time around on this tour was actually fairly easy for me. Because in pre-pro, I split all my stock up. So all I did was went in with the boxes that I needed for that show, which I'd set up the day before, which was an absolute godsend. As Liam said, something like time is an absolute optimum on day 1. And inevitably, with any department, there is a hitch or a problem that needs sorting out. And inevitably, that needs time. So if you can give yourself that time and be prepared for it, you're miles ahead. So all I did was went in, set up this mad scaffolding that Matt had the brilliant idea of sorting out, which actually looked really good for this show. Did my counting, set up, and obviously it's a case of walking around saying hi to the other people that are doing the same department as you on the tour. So going and say hi to the merch guys for the 2 support bands who were massive legends. And then generally being on hand to help move cases. I think I did a lot of that. I think I did a lot of helping Wakey move some stuff around, I think. And AeroPressing coffee. That was pretty much my day. On a scale of 1 to 12, how stressful was it for you, Joe?
to be fair, for a first show, this was actually pretty good for me.
Yeah,
obviously,
right.
Walking in and the stage still being built was a great start, and the other tour bus being in the way. But yeah, the actual day was fine. We managed to set up pretty quick and sound check. We got to run through a few of the newer songs, which was always good for the band because it was the first time they'd been playing these new ones. And we managed to pack down to let Every Time I Die sound check, and let Vane get a sound check. And it was nice that we had a decent sized dressing room this time as well with seating, because sometimes you get a dressing room and it's just a little cupboard behind the stage and there might be like one sofa in there. It's like enough seats for like 2 or 3 people, and we're a crew of like 12, so it was nice to have a decent sized room that had like a couple of sofas, a nice table, a couple of desks and some chairs. And also we had the bus close by.
Yeah, it wasn't a drop and go.
Yeah, normally Paris is like you turn up and your bus can't park there, so you dump all your gear in the venue and the bus drives away and comes back at the end of the night. But this time the bus could stay, so...
No, because drop and goes are a fucking ball ache, right? Because you're usually blocking off loads of traffic. There's usually people beeping their horns. There's loads of gear, sort of, personal items on the street, and you don't know what's going where. You're trying to keep on top of it all. There's crew just, like sort of local crew trying to get your gear in as quick as possible. The bus driver's panicking. He's going, "Come on, guys, you need to get it in quicker. And you're going, It's like, what's he doing standing on his phone? Come on. Oh, hey, up you board. Get some of this gear in venue now, you know what I mean? So...
there's just a random geezer waiting at a bus stop.
Yeah. What are you doing waiting for a bus, mate? You can see we're doing a drop and go. Get involved. So they are a bit of a nightmare. But do you remember that one, James, was it Nashville? It weren't Nashville. It was...
Oh, New Orleans.
New Orleans, wasn't it? And we actually blocked the street off for the time main street to the time that it took to load the trailer, which was a good 15 minutes.
Yeah.
The traffic was blocked off, and there were guys getting out of the car, like running up the street, like shouting at us, like, "You fucking ass, buddy!" And we were like, "Let's get this in quick."
I think at one bit I turned around and I was like, "I can't do it any faster," and then this massive guy just got out of his car and started shouting. I was like, "Okay, I'll go faster."
Oh. That'll be me going faster then.
Yeah, that was a nightmare. So any drop and go, really. I've done a couple in Paris, even before working for Sleeps, and even in a van, it's a nightmare. Vans. Yeah. Then I've got to go and move the van and find parking, and
Paris is pretty bad for drop and goes, but luckily this venue was fine. We could chill on the bus all day, which was good. Yeah. That's where the coffee machine was. So
yeah, that show though as a whole, I thought that show was fantastic. Speaking personally, doing the merchandise job, Paris can sometimes be a real pain in the arse. It's a tough place to sell merch in sometimes.
Yeah.
But that show was busy. I just remember being like, I didn't even realise, although I was in the same room, I didn't even realise that one of the support bands had played because I was so busy. I looked at my watch and was like, Jesus, is that the time already? And then I remember the show going really well for Sleeps and everyone just being like, number one show of tour done, and that was how it should be. Or that for this show, that's how it should be. And I just remember everyone being over.
That's it. Once you get that first show out of the way, like you say, and Paris is always the tough one. So if you can withstand a gig in Paris, you know that you're on for a pretty good tour. Another reason why we were so on it, I thought, was the fact that we had extra help from Elle. Elle made a real huge difference from my perspective personally, like helping out on stage. He was helping at Matt's side with his guitar changes and stuff, and just getting sort of the cabs ready, everything. Elle's just, I'm going to big him up here, but he was a real godsend on that tour. Absolute fucking legend. So when you've got people like that with you as well, you don't feel as sort of out in the field on your own a little bit. When you're on sort of like a smaller crew or whatever, and it's just me on stage and it's James at front of house, and Lacey on merch. Sometimes it can be a bit like, having that extra pair of hands, I guess, is absolutely like just a godsend. So yeah, big up Elle.
The guy's a workhorse too, which obviously helps because it seems to be that he can help out with any job, which is mental.
Yeah, he'll just jump on anything, which is what you need. If you're touring, you've got a real good attitude. So yeah, that was another thing. Knowing that we had Elle on that tour was because there were some bigger shows on that run, and yeah, he really helped out tenfold. Yeah, that was like a proper, good team crew-wise. I think, for a while that was like one of the best lineups. lineups that we had, yeah, great.
All-star
lineup, yeah.
All right, Liam, I've got a couple of questions for you that are going a little bit off pace. And I'm going to throw into the mix now just to catch you off guard. We've done nothing about this. You don't know what I'm about to ask you. So
good.
If someone's listening to this and wants to get into touring, what are 3 tips that you would give them?
3 tips. It's difficult. It is difficult. I remember going back when I first started, but you've got to be willing to do anything, willing to get involved. For a long time I drove vans, for smaller sort of like Leeds bands. Do some shouts like Fizzy Blood and a band called All Some Drugs and Forever Cult and all these sort of like younger sort of bands. There was a guy in Leeds who had a van, and I just offered my services. I'll drive the van, I'll even guitar tech for you. You start on, less money, obviously, but just get involved. Just get in touch with people, get on social media, ask questions, get into that scene, but just be prepared to do the sort of slog tours, do you know what I mean? The very tiring, driving quite a lot for not a lot of money, sleeping on people's settees and all that sort of thing. But you'll eventually get into the right, well, not the right circles, but you'll eventually move up into getting, better gigs, and just your experience, building your experience is a great thing. And just learn as well. There's so much stuff out there to learn. If you want to become a guitar tech, for example, get online. There's some real good sources out there to learn how to, be a good guitar tech and tips and tricks and all this type of thing. And never stop sort of learning, never stop sort of teaching yourself things or asking the questions to people. I have discussions with guitar techs now that pick little things up here and there, and you think, that's a real good idea. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I think that's maybe covered it. Is it?
Yeah.
Is that a big question?
When you're on tour, what is your favourite thing to do in your off time?
Definitely sleep for Liam.
100% it's sleeping. I know the answer already.
Yeah, I love a good sleep.
Sleeping or showering?
Yeah. But aside from sleeping and showering, I do like to get up and roam around the city. And when we've had the chance on some of the summer tours, when we've been able to go to like a lake or something like that, just making the best of that day off is going to a lake. I do enjoy just diving into a lake over and over and over again. And obviously going for a beer and just socialising a little bit and just sort of having that downtime to sort of relax, going for some nice food and really sort of appreciating that time off, because you're soon back into the cog, aren't you? The next day you're soon into that. Right, we're loading at 1 again. Come on.
Yeah.
So when you've got that bit of downtime, I think it's very important to make the most of it and not just sleeping all day and, do nothing, just sit around the bus. So yeah, that's what I like to do. How about you, Lacey? What do you like to do?
Drink coffee.
Watch football.
I like to drink coffee, watch football, and just generally drink coffee and watch football.
Yeah.
Occasionally I will get really annoyed about the football, and then I'll drink more coffee and get more annoyed at myself.
You get very into football. You do.
I do.
Very into it.
I have a good memory of us in Poland. All of us were in Poland, staying in an Airbnb, and Chelsea were playing Man City, and Chelsea lost by quite a margin, and I just went to bed.
Oh, yeah. I remember that. Oh, dear.
And the thing is, you guys don't even banter me about it or anything. I was just so annoyed. I just went to bed.
Probably better leave him, to be honest. Just let him go to bed. He'll be fine.
So was there anything that you can think of, any other stories that either of you can think of? Because my day was pretty straightforward. Unlike a lot of the other days on that tour, my day was pretty straightforward. Other than, James, I don't know where you got them from. Them noodles that you brought to the merch desk were unbelievable.
Yeah, that was a fun task, because ordering stuff on Deliveroo in France means that the entire menu is, of course, in French. And I do not speak French. So I'm looking through, trying to order everyone some noodles, found a cool pad thai place, and quite a lot of people on the tour are vegetarian. So Lacey's vegetarian. I think I ordered some for Matt and Sean. They're both vegetarian. So I'm just sat looking at the menu to try and work out which is a vegetarian option. I just can't do it using Google Translate at all. So I got some of the venue to translate, and it said it was a vegetarian pad thai, but then the only options that you could pick from in the drop-down box were all meat, and like there was no option just to do a plain vegetarian version.
Good.
So luckily on the local crew, we had a few mates there. So Tim, who's a good friend of mine, who does front house for a few bands like Beginners and Ocean and Novelists, he was working with his local crew for the venue. Then Nico, who's a TM for Landmarks, who toured with us last year, and Marine, who's a promoter at All Legends. Yeah, then I got Nico to translate and write down in the order notes on Deliveroo that we'd selected chicken, but please just send them without, and we just wanted them plain and vegetarian. So I think we all just crossed our fingers, and then luckily when they arrived, they were all correct.
It was so good. Then, like, generally, getting food can be hard in them kind of places because, again, being so far out of town. But I was so surprised with how good them noodles were. I think, in fact, there's a photo on my Instagram of me eating them noodles behind the mountain.
Yeah, because they turned up at like just after doors open. So I remember getting your order and having noodles in one hand, like chopsticks and a can of Coke in the other, trying to get through the crowd, get to the merch desk. You just going through like, excuse me, coming through with noodles.
And I managed to walk past just as I had a mouthful of noodles as well. So there's a photo with me noodles hanging out of my mouth, which is fantastic.
Yeah, food can be a bit of a headache, can't it? I mean, sometimes like with catering or whatever, catering can be really nice. Sometimes it can be a little bit hit and miss. But yeah, when you sort of, that is the task, in it, going for food after when you've sound checked. So you start your day, you load in, you set up, you sound check, you do all your checks, make sure everything's working right and that, and then when the other bands get on stage to sort of sound check, you've got a couple of things to tie up, and then it's like, right, okay, cool, we can go for some food now. And you've probably gone about 5 hours not having any food apart from just having the odd drink or like rider sandwich or whatever, some fruit maybe, and then it's like, cool, where are we going for somewhere to eat? Thank God it's tea time. Yes, I can go for some food. It's like, well, there's no around here. Yeah, we're in the middle of nowhere. We're in the middle of nowhere, mate. There's no around here. So, and it's so, it can be so frustrating that you just like, surely there's at least just, fast food restaurant that we can go to. But yeah, I did one of the shows on the American tour last. We were in Kansas, James. Remember that? I know I don't want to go off to, the Paris show, but I walked for about 4 miles to try and find some food because I was just like starving and it was raining. And so I walked these 4 miles and I got to like, there was a Sonic Burger, right? And apparently Sonic Burger you can only go through in a car. So I didn't realise it. So I thought, somebody said, there's a Sonic Burger just up there. I'm like, cool, I'm going there. And then you can only go through in a car. And I'm like, fuck me. So I ended up walking like a bit further down, a bit further, was nothing. And I found this little garage, like, I don't know, this really bad garage. And I went in and got a mac and cheese pot, some horrible crisps, right? I can't remember what they were, right? And a drink. And that was basically all I had in this garage. And I remember just walking back in the rain with this bag, with this little pot of mac and cheese and these horrible crisps, and just being like, I want to go home. I want to go home.
That was a good day. We should do an episode on that show because a lot happened at that show as well.
Yeah, let's do another one on that show.
We'll definitely pick that one out as a future episode. But yeah, I guess that's about it then for Paris. Any final thoughts from you, Liam?
Stay safe. Don't get coronavirus. Abide by the rules, and we'll all live happily ever after. Hopefully, yeah. That's about it. Words of wisdom from Liam Rothery.
Yeah. Sweet. Well, I guess that's about it for this week's episode about Paris. Join us again next week where we'll talk about show number 2 in Brussels. And we'll try and get another special guest for the podcast. But for now, say thanks to this week's guest, Mr. Liam Rothery.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, guys. Appreciate it.
Mate, it's a pleasure. It's good to see your face. I miss you loads.
You too, mate. You too. And hopefully once we get through this lockdown period, we can get together.
Yeah, definitely. Right. Everyone say bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Yes, that is show number 1 done. I just want to say that we sometimes fall into the habit of calling each other the nicknames that we use on tour. So if you heard us say Wakey at any point, we were referring to Liam, the guitar tech. And if you heard anyone say the name Jar, they're referring to me. I'm not going to tell you what the nicknames are from. If you want to have a guess, just go to the Instagram page and message us, and maybe I'll tell you if you're right. Who knows? And again, I just want to say that this series is just a look at some stories about how we do our jobs. We're in no way saying that we do them the correct way that they should be done, but that's just how we do them, and they're our stories. So we hope that if you're listening, you find a little bit of inspiration from them, or just a little bit of knowledge of how we do stuff behind the scenes. So yeah, please make sure you're hitting that follow, subscribe button for the podcast wherever you may be listening. It really does help us out. And if it's possible to leave a review or a rating, then please do that as well. Also, make sure you go check out the Instagram page at While She Texts. It's full of free information and stories. And each week I'm going to be doing a post about the episode of the podcast where I'm going to include pictures and videos about the stuff that we talk about within the episode. So you don't want to miss out on that. Make sure you like and share it all to your friends and make us super, super famous. But yeah, thanks for listening, and make sure you tune in again next week. We will be talking about the show in Brussels, and I promise it won't all be about sprouts.